Okay, sorry for the long delay, but just finishing up lunch, and I wanted to get back to you to cover part 3. So remember, simple sales process, 4 parts: universe list, going to appointments, being effective, converting raw materials into real opportunities, and then managing your backlog. 4 parts. It's interesting that things can be that simple, but remember, Christine, things are that simple. The context is that simple. We overcomplicate things so often. So let's talk about part 3. Excuse me, I got a little bit of a cough here, but when we think about the natural resource, you would be amazed how many times people will, let's say, sit at a trade show for 2 days, pull in opportunities by talking to people who have a need for something, put that stuff into a folder, and never follow up with any sense of repetitiveness, with any kind of process. Raw materials come in many different ways, but it all comes from your effort, from the work that you do every day, from calling your universe list top to bottom, from going on appointments, from selling your value, from being connected in that way. This raw material starts to come into your business and your world. But we typically, many people, the best salespeople really, really know how to manage that. They really know how to create a system that helps them execute. So, pretty simply, first things first, you actually need a system for where to manage the data. We talked about this in the appointment part 2, that there's a whole crap load of systems out there, and I'm not here with you to sell you a system or, prescribe the one, because I think each person has their own type of system that they're using. Whether you're working at a company that already has it, it may not be financially feasible to get something different, but just any system. The basic necessities are in all of these contact management systems that are out there. So the backlog management, from my perspective, when I was in the field, and very similar to when you are, what I would do is I would be going to appointments, making my universe list calls. As always, at the end of every call, I was asking for opportunity. I would get opportunity either in those meetings or in those phone calls, or they would come later via email, via phone call, via voicemail. Here, listen, call so-and-so, they need you, they need your help. Based on what you told me, this is a great customer for you. So what I would do is I would then have that customer, I'd put it into my planner at the time, I had a paper planner, and I would have a sheet for each opportunity. Once I got that natural resource into the pipe, my pipe, I would put it into my book. I would work that book. Now here's the important part. You need to have time set up every single day to outbound to those opportunities, that natural resource conversion. So I might have travel time between appointments. We talked about in session 2, or even in part 1, about making the right types of appointments. So I'd try to have 4 or 5 appointments a day, but I would have drive time for an hour between those appointments. So I would have either universe list time calling between those appointments, or I would have conversion moments between those appointments, where I would have a clear set. I'd have my planner next to me, I'd flip through, I'd have the numbers programmed, and I would be calling out to those customers, those raw resources, natural resources, to convert them to an opportunity. So that raw resource is a customer who hasn't been contacted yet. Someone told you that this is somebody that wants to do business with you and really needs you, but you haven't made contact with them yet, so you don't really have the context. So first things first, you have to have a process. Mine went from my book into our contact management system, which we called SalesLogix. So for you, it might be similar, or maybe you want it to go directly into your handheld which is your contact management system. Today, it's a little different than we didn't have. This was probably 10 years ago when I was in the field myself. We didn't have that contact management system on our BlackBerries or on our iPhones or whatever. So I'd be using paper files, but once I had that conversation, I would then convert it into the system of record, my contact management system. So again, find those times during your travels to make your contacts. Whether you're in your office, you have to have set time to do it. Whether you're traveling, get that prepared before you get into the car. Have those numbers programmed. Make contact. You might be in the car for 45 minutes. In 45 minutes, I can make 15 phone calls because I'm only gonna, out of 15 phone calls, typically 10 of them are gonna be voicemails, 5 of them are gonna be contacts. So I can make a lot of contacts in 45 minutes. So I'm always working to utilize as much time as possible that I have throughout my day to make those contacts. So first part, have a contact management process. What do you do? How do you do it? Write that down. You should know exactly how you manage your opportunities to turn natural resources into real live business. The next thing, you have to find time to make contact. So if you don't have the time in your day to make contact, those opportunities will disappear. Because they're in need, people will find those customers and reach out and make contact. The next thing that I always looked at was, when should I visit or when should I not visit personally those contacts? So this might be different for all different kinds of people. So for me, I traveled in the market, but I wasn't always in the market. So if you're a salesperson that has a huge market, big cities, maybe you have 2 or 3 states, you can't always be in those spaces at all the time. For you, in your case, you are in a very confined market. So you should probably at this point be visiting everybody and be visiting them very quickly. So you have your contact management process. You have your time set when you're making these phone calls to convert this natural resource over to a real, true opportunity. In your case, you should probably have that first phone call. Then you should be looking to connect with that person face to face. Coffee, lunch, breakfast, dinner, whatever it is. Get together with them. The main piece now, this is so important. We talked about this a little bit in part 2. Understand your value proposition. What is your value proposition? When you make contact, there are 1,000 real estate agents. What do you do differently? You know, one of the things that we talk to our teams about, the teams that I've worked with in the past, is we reference it as a candy wrapper. Do you know your value proposition as a candy wrapper, or do you really, really, truly understand your value proposition deep into that candy? What is it, the detail behind what is it that makes you different? Everyone is going to give the candy wrapper in your business that you're the best at service. What does that mean? When you say you're the best at service, know that everybody's saying the same exact thing. I'll give you an example, dialing it back to the car business, when I was in the car business. Excuse me. People used to always say, this car is very safe. So what does that mean? Safe. Well, there's probably about 15 different components in a car, and maybe even more than 15 different components. Anti-lock brakes, crumple zones, the way the seatbelt works, the airbags where they are, the curtain airbags, everything. There's probably 15 or 20 things about a safe car that you could have a conversation about. It's the same exact thing for you. The same exact thing for you. You have value. You have amazing value. But we don't always talk about the value. It's your right to talk about that value. There's one big takeaway for our team and from the teams that I work with. Today, we probably have a 15 or 20 page document that really explains our value proposition to the detail. So that when I'm having a conversation with somebody, I am really, truly talking about that value. What is it? Write it down. What does, Christine, it mean that you are amazing at service? What does it mean? Will you be there on time? Do you have a time commitment? Are you going to be prepared? And in what way are you going to be prepared when you're spending time with them? When are you available? How are you available? Your home number, your cell phone number, your work number, your whatever, your email, your Twitter account, your Facebook, whatever it is. How are you available? How are you delivering a differentiated service? If there is something that you should spend time on, that's what you should spend time on, is sitting down, writing out exactly what your value proposition is. So, you're going to maintain that contact management system. You have to set time in your day to make these phone calls. You have to make contact. You have to have specific times when you're making contact. That is so, so important. Because listen, if you were on an appointment with a potential customer and a client called you, would you take the phone call? No, because that appointment is important. But the same appointments that you're setting for yourself to ensure that you're managing your opportunities are just as important. Okay? So, clear system, set time, understand your value proposition. In your case, you should be going to see every single person that you can, having those meaningful conversations with as many people as you can. Now, to clean up, here's the cleanup. Once you're done with that call, update your source immediately. Who gave you the opportunity? Who was the person that reached out to you with that business? Call them. Email them, text them, whatever it is. I want to let you know I just met with Susie Smith. She's very excited about this opportunity. I match up perfectly with her. I will take amazing care of this referral that you gave me. Okay, other thing you want to do. When you're talking to that natural resource, you want to look for more business and look for additional people to get onto your universe list. We do that every time. We did it when we were calling the universe list. We did it when we were on appointments, and we're doing it again. It's very simple. This world and our operations in most settings are not complicated. It's just doing the simple things that we know create results. Okay? That's part 3. I love you. Keep grinding. I love your texts lately about what you're doing, what you're up to. You're going to make it happen. Keep going. Stay focused. Keep it simple.